Hey guys, my name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're up for round 2 of min-maxing for fun and profit, or in other words, how to make your party leave your game forever / how to make your GM quit running tabletop role-playing games anywhere he goes. Today we're on to the Ubercharger, which is probably my favorite way to get the damage done. Let's dive right in. In medieval warfare, the invention of the lance changed the entire scape of the battlefield pretty much up until they figured out how guns worked. I'll save you guys the science. Long story short, this metal pointy thing that they would use carried the momentum of a running horse, the weight of the horse, the weight of his armor, the weight of the dude on his back, the weight of the lance, the weight of the dude's armor, the weight of the dude's shield, into this fine little point that you would jab into somebody's chest. In Pathfinder, an Ubercharger is a character that excels at making charge attacks, whether it be from horseback, dragonback, griffinback, giant octopus back. As long as we're mounted and charging, we're good to go. It revolves around the feat Spirited Charge. Under normal circumstances, when you're mounted and charging, a lance will automatically do double damage. With Spirited Charge, we're doing triple, essentially a critical with a battle axe every time we're attacking. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what race is our Ubercharger going to be? By and large, the meta is going to determine what race you play your Ubercharger. What that means is your GM, the world he creates, and the environments you're placed in are largely going to determine the race of your character. If you expect the campaign to take place over a lot of open ground, less dungeons, less inside buildings, more battlefield type structure, any race is fine. We recommend a Kitsune. We'll tell you why later. If you expect your campaign to be a long dungeon crawl, or in a lot of urban settings, it's very important to prioritize the smaller races. It's pretty easy, as most of us can attest, to fit a dog into a house. A horse, or something bigger, is an entirely different story. And if you're crawling around in a dungeon having to babysit a horse, or God forbid leave your horse parked outside the dungeon, thus taking you off your mount, thus taking Spirited Charge away, this class loses all its pizzazz in one shot. So again, if we're in the dungeon, if we're in the house, we want to play small races. Our mount selection is also very important. In general, the more move speeds your mount has, the better. But it's really important if you know your game is going to take place in an aquatic setting, in an aerial setting, in a lava setting. I don't know what kind of settings you kids use. Make sure we have a mount that functions in the setting. For example, if we're looking at an aquatic campaign, a giant shark, a hippocampus, a giant seahorse, a dolphin if we're small. If we're going to be in the sky, we've got dragons, griffins, the list goes on. Just make sure we got something that can swim or fly a little better than the average horse. How do we get a mount that's strong enough to survive high-level play? The easiest way to do this is the leadership feat. At level 7, we just grab this, even if our charisma is dumped. By the end game, we will have picked up all the bonuses you find in the leadership table to make sure we can get whatever it is for flavor that we want. Be that a Kirin for our samurai, a gold dragon for our paladin, a warg for our slayer, whatever you want. Leadership will get you there. If the GM will not let you take leadership, or will not let you take leadership to get a magical beast, we'll be using the monstrous mount feat. It has more prerequisites, and there's further prerequisites inside this to qualify for magical beasts. But if this is what we got to do, this is what we got to do. We need to make sure we can fly if we need to fly, swim if we need to swim, not just have something with 2 hit dice that's going to get rammed. If all else fails, consider playing something like a centaur or a dryder, or really anything with a dude upper half and a quadruped or more lower half. Yes, the feat tax is pretty gnarly, and there's going to be a lot of feats you take early on that are just straight nothings that you're getting for prerequisites for Spirited Charge. But this way, you don't have to track stats for a mount, you don't have to worry about a mount, you don't have to feed a mount, you are your own mount. And it pans out pretty well, especially again for players who just don't like tracking lots of character sheets. Playing an Ubercharger is all about the multiplication game. What we're doing again is we're taking things like Spirited Charge, critical hits, other various spells and effects that can get our multiples up, and we stack them into a big multiple into one big attack. Multiple multiplication is a little complicated in Pathfinder, and it's not done the way it used to be done. To quote, when you are asked to apply more than one multiplier to a roll, the multipliers are not multiplied by one another. Instead, you combine them into a single multiplier, with each extra multiplier adding 1 less than its original value to the first multiplier. For example, If we have the Spirited Charge feat, which says triple damage with the lance when we charge, and we roll a natural 20, a critical hit with said lance for triple damage, we take the 3 that we have from charging, the 3 that we have from the crit minus 1 is 2, add them together, our Spirited Charge crit does 5 times damage. But we're not done there. There's 2 other things we can add on to Spirited Charge to increase the multiplication factor to keep our numbers going into the stratosphere. First one we're going to discuss is the Paladin spell, Litany of Righteousness. Litany of Righteousness is a level 3 Inquisitor or level 2 Paladin spell that we cast as a swift action. If we break the enemy's spell resistance, if they are evil, they take double damage from attacks made by creatures with a good aura, such as our Paladins, our Clerics, our Inquisitors. Anybody that's figured out a way to get a good aura, they're doing double damage. If the spell targets a non-evil creature, it fizzles. But under most circumstances, in tabletop role-playing games, I find that we're going to be fighting evil things. Maybe not all the time, but I almost guarantee our bosses are going to be evil. Most of the monsters that we see that we associate with this game, chromatic dragons, demons, devils, things of that nature, all of them are evil. This thing is almost always going to hit. In our more high-powered settings, the Raptor Lord, a sort of lycanthrope that gets his powers straight from nature rather than a bite, using them to become sort of a scion of that particular species of animals, does double damage with any charge that starts 10 or more feet above its target. It's very important that we make sure our Raptor Lord, if we're able to play him, gets a flying mount so we can get this as often as possible. And personally, I don't think it's unreasonable to give this to anything that is diving, whether it be on the back of a dragon, on the back of a griffin, whatever. It is still building the momentum from going down as it delivers its attack. It's not a big stretch to say that everybody should be able to get this. Also, if it becomes something the player abuses, you can just lower the ceiling so they can't fly that high, or fly to catch up with them. It's not broken. So let's add some stuff together. Spirited Charge is triple damage. A critical hit with a lance is triple damage. Minus 1 is 2. We have 5 so far. Litany of Righteousness does double damage. Minus 1, total 6. Raptor's Dive is double damage. Minus 1. That's a total of times 7 damage on our Ubercharger when all our conditions are fulfilled. But what class do we make this masterful monster of death? The Paladin is a very strong candidate considering he has access to Litany of Righteousness and a free mount at 4th level. Cavaliers are good too. There are a lot of really good Cavalier archetypes such as the Gendarme. They can do crazy damage with the lance, throw their multiples into the stratosphere. It's really good. Now that I think about it, pretty much every class in Paizo's universe has some sort of mounted option. We've got the Horse Lord Ranger, a mounted Fury Barbarian. Even the Rogue has an archetype that if he charges, he gets all the sneak attack stuff. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to go with a monk archetype called the Soha. So why are we playing the Soha? For one, we get mounted combat feats as bonus feats instead of our normal monk bonus feats like Stunning Fist, Medusa's Wrath, things like that, which alleviates a lot of feat tax that we have, especially in the early game. For a little extra icing on the cake, at first level, a Soha always acts in a surprise round, even if he doesn't notice the bad guys. He also gets a bonus equal to half his monk level on initiative rolls. At 20th level, our initiative is at all times a natural 20. We go first, they're not ready to react to us, we run them down, we run them through, we run to the next encounter. Easy peasy. At 4th level, a Soha may spend 1 point from his key pool to grant his mount temporary hit points equal to twice his level. In addition, we can give our mount our AC bonus, our Diamond Soul, which is our spell resistance, evasion, high jump, improved evasion, all this sweet stuff that a monk gets, we can just slap it on our mount. So if we're forced to take that horse, we just have to buy every time we go to a town because our horse keeps getting killed. Then here's our wisdom bonus onto his armor class, here's high jump on the horse, here's spell resistance on a horse. We're going to survive a lot of things that the regular cavalier and his horse might not survive. Also, once we reach 4th level, we can spend a point from our key pool to grant any weapon we're holding a +1 enhancement bonus per every 4 levels. That means we don't have to spend the gold that we're spending to keep our mounts up and keep our mounts replaced when they die on our weapons. It's something we don't gotta worry about. We can just take the key point off our sheet and have what we need. But the real showstopper here, at 6th level, we get weapon training as the fighter. We can choose from monk weapons, bows, crossbows, polearms, thrown weapons, or spears, which includes lances. We get a total of 3 of these at 6th, 12th, and 18th. The important part here, we can use Flurry of Blows with whatever weapon we pick. That means we can flurry with our lance. Now I can already hear you guys. Charging is a full round action. We can't both charge and use a full attack action. There's two ways around that one. First one, the mounted skirmisher feat. If your mount moves its speed or less, you can still take a full attack action. Now this does not exclusively say that if my mount moves, I can full attack on a charge, but many people interpret it thus. Many people argue that the mount is gaining the momentum for you to be able to full attack. Thus, this feat is a logical way for us to be able to full attack while charging with our mount. Our other option, remember how we talked about a kitsune before? They get a feat called Vulpine Pounce. When you change shape into your kitsune form and charge, you can pounce. The first feat in the chain lets us do this faster than a standard action. We are a human, we charge, pounce. That is a black and white way for us to have pounce on a charge, delivering massive damage. Now, I would be remiss if I did not note that an errata exists for how this character functions. If you have pounce and you charge, according to an errata that has been released, the extra damage only occurs on the first attack in the charge. The thing I hate about Paizo is the thing I love about Paizo. They have their product, they make a good product for us to play, we enjoy it, we love it, but then they change it and nobody knows about it unless they're sitting on the Paizo forums watching literally every single solitary thing they do. Not joking to you guys, I played a Soha to level 32, finished that campaign 2 weeks ago, come here, get ready to do this video, check my work, make sure I'm right, and I realized that character was illegal for the entire scope of his existence. If you want to use the errata, it's fair, it's balanced, go ahead and do so. However, I feel erratas are entirely 100% up to the GM. Ask your GM how he feels. If your GM needs a little bit of persuasion as to why your monk can deliver that momentum across 7 attacks, sit down with him. Watch some Kung Fu movies. I think you'll be able to persuade him. Now let's get down to our feat selection. For the purpose of this character, we'll be putting 18 Soha levels in and grabbing our last 2 levels as Paladin levels. The most important feat in the run is Spirited Charge, which we're taking at 5th. We can buy a horse up until 7th when we get leadership for whatever mount it is we need to suit our purposes, to suit the world, to suit our flavor text. Until then, we're pretty much buying mounts that are available in town. For the first few levels, we're essentially kind of a bad monk, kind of a bad fighter, but once we get going, we pick up speed really fast. We're taking Mounted Skirmisher as a bonus feat at 14th level, with a prerequisite of Trick Riding at 10th level. Basically, this allows you to take a lot of your like DC 5, DC 10 ride checks for free. Other than Power Attack and Hammer the Gap, which allows us to add consecutive damage for every attack that has hit the same target in a round. So if we hit him twice, we add 1 extra damage. If we hit him 3 times, we add 1 extra damage, then 2 extra damage, so on and so forth. Other than that, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feats that are entirely up to you. Your traits are entirely up to you. This guy has a lot of wiggle room. Soha can flurry with bows as well. I've made a successful Soha Horse Archer that was a whole lot of fun. Honestly, that's probably, yeah, okay, calling it now. Next week we're doing an Archer video. The point is, you can pretty much do whatever you want with this guy. As long as you get the feats I'm showing you here, you're going to come out on top. So let's talk about combat. We're going to assume that our character is able to take a template, and we've made him a Raptor Lord, choosing a Giant Vulture. We take the Giant Vulture's strength and add 4 to it. We have a base of 26 at 20th level, plus 5 inherent bonus, plus 6 enhancement bonus, and 5 points assigned from leveling, gives us 42 strength or a 16 modifier. So when we get down to business and charge with our lance, we're looking at a base attack bonus of 46, 46, 41, 41, 36, 36, 31. This is before the haste enchantment, this is before weapon focus, anything like that. We're just adding our charging, our enhancement, our strength mod, and a potential plus 10 smite evil, assuming we're playing a race with 20 charisma and the full enhancement inherent bonus we can assign to our charisma modifier. If all of our attacks do spirited charge damage, we're looking at 1d8 plus 36 times 5. That averages 200 damage each hit, or 1400 damage if they all connect. This crazy amount of damage that you're doing doesn't factor in things like a flaming enchantment or sneak attack or anything that doesn't get multiplied on critical hits. It's also not factoring in the Hammer the Gap feat, which could assign, before any multiplication, an extra 14 damage. After we do some multiplication, that's an extra 70 damage, and that's even before we do crits, sending that farther up into the stratosphere, sending our grand total farther up into the stratosphere, sending the big bad evil guys to an early grave. If they crit, we're looking at an average of 280 damage each successful hit, or a grand total of 1,960 damage from all these attacks. A keen enchantment is not hard to get. Yeah, we're probably not going to crit every attack, but we have a 10% chance. Why not do the math? That's half the fun. Let's assume that we're playing the errata and only the first attack gets the Spirited Charge multiplication. It's important to remember, Litany of Righteousness is doubled not just for everybody, but for every attack everybody with a good aura makes. Yes, we lose the Spirited Charge multiplier, but we don't lose that one. If only the first attack gets the Spirited Charge multiplication, we're looking at 680 damage on average if all of them connect, or 1,240 damage if all those attacks are crits. Now let's put that into perspective. The Tarrasque, big scary guy hiding in Bestiary 1, been haunting our nightmares since the Monster Manual in 1970 something or another. Paizo has given him, if we give him max hit points, 660 HP and an armor class of 40. That means we only need a 9 to hit this guy. On average, he is super dead in one round any way you do it. A CR30 encounter, Cthulhu has 900 hit points and an armor class of 49. Yes, our last attack needs to be a natural 18 or better to hit this guy, but before that, on our second to last attack bonus, a 13 will get us there. That means our first attacks are hitting. You're probably bringing down the biggest, baddest monsters in the bestiary in a handful of rounds. Yes, this needs a little bit of setup. You need 2 turns. The first turn to cast Smite Evil as your swift action and fly up. Your second turn to cast Litany of Righteousness on the bad guy and dive in. But that means every 2 turns you're wrecking somebody's face. Or if it's a bunch of little guys, you're wrecking every face in the path of the charge. After the charge, we fly back up again and dive back down, another 2-turn rotation, for a lot of havoc, a lot of pain, and a whole lot of fun. So where do we want to use this guy? If we're a player, 1v1, we almost always come out on top. Yes, dungeons are going to be a little rough, but if we're playing something small or something small that can fly, you're going to find you still have that mobility, and you only need 10 feet, that's 2 squares, to maintain this charge. Ride by Attack lets us run right past the bad guys, hit them with our charge. It doesn't provoke from them. Oftentimes we end up just on the other side of the battlefield to come back around and do it again. Long story short, we deliver a lot of damage, potentially to a lot of guys. If we have Pounce and they're in a straight line, we can hit the first guy, keep moving forward, hit, assigning crazy damage while not taking a whole lot of damage in return. If you are a GM and there is one player who's a little more min-maxy than everybody else in the party, a surefire way to get him back down to level is to challenge him to a joust. The Ubercharger, assuming that the other player's character isn't ready for him, isn't an Ubercharger himself, will get wrecked by somebody coming at him with a lance doing all this math. Now, I'm not condoning killing your players, but it is a very, very good challenge, especially if they like to stand in a line, or you can funnel them into a line and have somebody charge through. You guarantee a lot of people are going to take a lot of damage, and a lot of clerics are going to have to do a lot of work that session. So that's all I have to say about the Ubercharger. If you guys have any other way you like to play him, any stories, things of that nature, feel free to throw them in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you next time.